Hey, brothers and sisters, thanks for joining. Hey, today let's talk about gerrymandering. I don't know if you guys have seen it in the news yet, but I came across this story today. I live in Texas, so it's been all the buzz in Texas. So I thought this would be a good story to kind of react to. Redistricting Texas 2025. Texas House Democrats flee the state in a bid to block GOP's proposed congressional map. And I'll link this article in the notes. So if you want to read the whole article, great. I'll probably read most of it. I don't know. I haven't actually read most of the article. I've just kind of skimmed through it. But I thought that I'd use this as a platform, my thoughts on this. So what is going on? So Republicans control the legislature and in Texas, and Trump actually came out and weighed in. He said this in a couple of states. He came in and said, "Hey, you know what? I don't like that Jasmine Crockett girl." And I'm paraphrasing here. So you know what? You guys should go redraw the congressional districts before the next election. I think it looks like you could win about 5 Republican seats from Democrats and get rid of Jasmine Crockett if you did this. So I think that's a paraphrase of kind of the sentiment of what happened. I don't know if that's exactly what Trump said, but you know that's the gist of it. And I don't know if he actually mentioned kicking out Jasmine Crockett, but I would. I think she's terrible. She's a House member from Texas. Her on TV, she is the dumbest person I've seen in Congress, and that ever, I think, and that's saying a lot with like AOC and some of those other folks out there that just say the dumbest stuff. So Democrats are losing their minds because basically Texas is going, if this goes through, Texas will be taking 5 Democratic seats out of the Congress, federal Congress, which will definitely help Trump. It'll strengthen the Republican majority. And so they're crying foul and saying, you can't do this. It's not, it's not legal. I've seen words that this is criminal. It's illegal. You guys just drew the districts a couple of years ago. You shouldn't do this. You can't do this again so soon. So let's talk about it. So just a quick preface also on gerrymandering. So what is gerrymandering? I mentioned that at the beginning, and I learned about this in grade school. So gerrymandering is basically the practice of the party in power drawing congressional maps in their favor so that they can get more seats. And it's got a long history and has been used, I believe, in every single state in the U.S. And it is legal in every state in the U.S. to some degree. Different states have different rules around it, to be fair. So the implementation is different in different states. But the federal courts have fully upheld that, hey, the party in power gets to draw the map. That's just how it is. And I just find it a little comical because when Democrats controlled the House and the Senate, they did the same thing. And they do the same thing in California. They do the same thing in Illinois, wherever Democrats run things. Now, I get it. In Texas, Republicans have controlled all the statewide offices and have controlled the legislature since the 90s sometime. I don't know, maybe 94 maybe. So it's been a while. But to that, I would just say then Democrats, you really just need to win elections. like Obama said, elections have consequences. And, if you really hate it and you don't want to work within the system, move to California or Illinois permanently. Well, these guys who flee the state, maybe they shouldn't come back. But anyway, so with that, I think that's enough of a preface. And no, I take that back. One last thing on gerrymandering. I think gerrymandering is wrong. We shouldn't do it. It just seems wrong. I would be in favor of a new law that said something like, hey, you can only redraw district maps at census time. The U.S. Census happens every 10 years. So once the census numbers come out, with the next legislative session after the census comes out, you can redraw the maps. That's it. I'd be 100% in favor with that. Now, the problem is that's not the law. And so you got to play by the rules. You got to play the hand you're dealt. So if you don't like it, go change the law. I like to say this a lot. I'm all about results. If if it works, okay. There, winners get to write the rules, right? So if you so if this thing of running to off to other states works, if it actually gets the result the Democrats want, then I would actually applaud them. I don't actually like it, I don't think, but you know what? I like results. So let's see what their result is. But yeah, let's read more about it. So with that, you've got pretty much all my opinions on it, even before we read the article. All right. So the lawmaker's absence means that the lower chamber won't have enough members present to function, stalling passage of a draft map Democrats have condemned as a political power grab. Yeah, legislatures usually need what's called a quorum. I learned about that in civics also. Generally, you need there's a set number of members you need before a vote can be valid. And every state, every parliamentary type organization sets those rules up a little bit different. But whatever that quorum number is, if you don't have enough, then basically the business of the legislature stops. Texas Democratic lawmakers fled the state Sunday in a bid to block passage of a new congressional map designed to give GOP 5 additional seats in the U.S. House next year, raising the stakes in what's poised to be a national fight over redistricting ahead of next year's midterm election. Yeah, see, this has been playing out in Texas right now, but because there's a big election coming out, it would not surprise me if other states didn't redraw their maps here real quick before the election. Yeah, let me know if this is a big thing in your state. But it's a big thing in Texas because they just left the state. A bunch of Texas House Democrats just left the state to break the quorum. And why did they leave the state? They don't want to be arrested. It's happened before. The maneuver undertaken by most of Texas's 62 Democrats in the House deprives Republican-controlled chamber of a quorum, the number of lawmakers needed to function under House rules, ahead of a scheduled Monday vote on the draft map. And I think today is actually Monday. The 150-member House can only conduct business if at least 100 members are present, meaning the absence of 51 or more Democrats can bring the legislature's ongoing special session to a halt. So more than 51 Democrats have actually fled the state. It's crazy. Those words come out of my mouth. They're just crazy. This is not a decision we make lightly, but it is one we make with absolute moral clarity. Representative Gene Wu, chair of the House Democratic Caucus, said in a statement in which he accused Governor Greg Abbott of using an intentionally racist map. Yeah, when Democrats don't have a good cogent argument, everything's always racist or you're a Nazi, always. So as soon as I hear, and maybe they are racist, I don't know, but it's so overused. When I hear the words racist, Nazi, fascist, my brain just immediately goes to this person does not have a cogent argument, and so there's no point in me actually engaging with this person because they're a moron. Using the intentionally racist map to steal voices of millions of Black and Latino Texans, all to execute a corrupt political deal. I don't know what the corrupt political deal is. Maybe we'll find out. Most House Democrats left Texas Sunday afternoon en route to the Chicago area. Some are also headed to New York to meet Governor Kathy Hochul, who has condemned the Texas mid-decade redistricting. Yeah, see, I think it would be better just to do it every 10 years, but it's legal. And you know what? If it's not legal, the courts would strike it down if it wasn't legal. I do believe that because the Texas Democrats would take them to court. And if it was illegal, the courts would stop it. That's the court. In our system, the courts call the balls and strikes, right? So that's the world we live in. If the courts decide it's legal, it's legal. If the courts decide it's not legal, it's not legal, whatever it is. That's the system that we have all agreed to live under here in America. And your system might be different where you're at, but that's the one in Texas. Mid-decade redistricting effort and entertained the idea of retaliating with new maps in her state. So Hochul's going to do maps. Who cares, actually? Like in New York is already, see, that's kind of an empty threat because New York is already predominantly Democrat state. So if they redraw the maps and pick up a couple more, who cares? Like, go ahead, do it. It's legal, Governor. If you want to do it, go do it. If you think you can do that and keep your job, by all means, that's the calculus politicians live by. Whatever I do, will I keep my job in the next election? And it's legal, so go do it. Or if it is legal in New York, I don't know. The rules for every state are a little different. New York may have different rules on when they are allowed to redistrict. I do not know. A third contingent of lawmakers has departed for Boston to attend the National Conference of State Legislators annual legislative summit alongside some Senate Democrats, according to sources familiar with the senator's plans. Oh yeah, so getting the cover of that, and and just so in case anyone doesn't know, why are they leaving the state? The Democrats. I've done a little research, and I've lived in Texas for a little while. So I've been in Texas for like 40 odd years, and they did this once before in like the 90s, if I recall. And in the 90s when they did it, they didn't leave the state. And I don't remember exactly what they were doing it for. There was some law they were trying to block. I don't think it was redistricting, but there was some law they wanted to block. So they went and hid and just didn't show up for work. And if I remember right, the law enforcement went and found them and made them go back to work. So by leaving the state and going to Democratic states, Texas, like the Texas Rangers, won't have any jurisdiction, right? And those other states wouldn't, I'm sure, would not honor a extradition request by the state of Texas under these circumstances, because those states are run by Democrats. So that's why they leave the state, right? So that's what's going on with that. But the optics are super bad on it. It's like, just do your job. And you know what? If you can't get the laws you want, if you need to either negotiate harder, give the Republicans more, or you know what? You need to you need to win elections and change the law. That's what I say. Don't not do your job. I see this as just flat out not doing your job. We hired you to go pass these laws. We do it. Texas is weird. It's like every 2 years Texas makes new laws. So you're only working for a few months, and I don't know exactly how long the session is, but you're working a few months. I don't know, 6 months, and passing new laws, and then you go back to your normal life. It's not a full-time job like it is in many other states or in the federal government. It was not immediately clear how many Senate Democrats had left the state, and the caucus did not indicate plans to deny quorum in the upper chamber. So yeah, they're going to let Senate business continue but not House. And I don't know what the difference is. There must be some reason why they can't do it in the Senate, or they must just decided, hey, if the House does it, that's enough, and so that we don't need to do it in the Senate. Because you can't pass any new legislation if there's not enough House members there to do it. I completely get that. There are just over 2 weeks left in the Texas legislature's special session, during which Abbott has also asked lawmakers to take up measures responding to the floods. Okay, so good. They're supposed to, in the next 2 weeks, they're supposed to work on floods too. I think that's important. I really think that they need to figure out how to help the people that got flooded out. Like, I don't know exactly what they're trying to do there, but if they want to give more money to the flood victims or set up laws to stop this again, I'm all for that. So they're not doing that either. So they're stopping like business, all business. He also wants them to crack down on abortion pills and what bathrooms transgender people can use. I'm not as concerned with those, with the hemp and the abortion bills and the bathrooms, but for me, it's like, hey, let's help the big thing on this list. I mean, they're all important to people, but to me, the big one is let's help the people who are impacted by the floods. And on the transgender bathrooms, if you're truly transgender, I don't care what bathroom you use. The prospect for those items, along with new redistricting maps, were immediately thrown in doubt. Yeah, so guys, I don't think the optics on this are good. I know a lot of your supporters are going to be for this. Hey, let's stick it to the Republicans, and we can't let them get away with this and all that. but you're also blocking really important measures like, hey, we need flood relief. Um, so I think the optics on this are bad. So I think they've done the math wrong. I think some of these guys and gals are going to not win their next elections because their opponents are going to use this against them. And remember, Trump did win by a pretty good majority in Texas. Like him or not, he did win. So that gives Republicans a boost since he's the leader of the Republican Party right now. In his statement, Wu said, as of today, this corrupt special session is over. I don't know what's corrupt here. So in the comments, I must have missed something about corruption with the special session. If it's corrupt, what's going on there? I really don't know. I'm not being facetious here. I don't know. At a news conference alongside Illinois Governor Pritzker Sunday, Wu was non-committal about Democrats' long-term plans, telling he wasn't sure what the caucus's next steps will be. Yeah, because I actually don't think this is going to work. I think this is all just political grandstanding and virtue signaling, and it's going to delay, but I don't think it's going to work. But just a little spoiler. That's my opinion. So let's keep going. We're still taking this day by day. Yeah. Abbott, meanwhile, sent a letter to each of the departed members late Sunday, informing them that he would attempt to have them removed from office if they do not return to Austin. The governor cited in a non-binding 2021 legal opinion from the Attorney General Ken Paxton, who said it would be up to the court to decide whether a lawmaker who had left the state to deny quorum had forfeited their office. If a court were to decide that legislatures had vacated their offices, Abbott would be permitted to fill those seats with appointees of his choosing, Paxton's opinion stated. Yeah, so that's the fuck around and find out moment. We're about to see what's going to happen here, and the session's almost over. So honestly, it doesn't matter that much for this session, but it just matters for the optics for the next reelection, because again, the Texas sessions, they only run like every 2 years. So in about 2 years, there'll be a new election, and new people will be sent to the Texas legislature, I think. And tell me if I'm wrong, but that's what I remember. Yeah, and as research for this, I did go and look up the Constitution of Texas to kind of see if I could corroborate what that statement by Ken Paxton and by Abbott, because I had seen it. And yes, so the Texas Constitution is actually clear. I think it says something of the order of, if a position is deemed vacant, and then there's different reasons in there for why it might be vacant, and I think them leaving the state would actually qualify. Then a court, it's going to take a court. Abbott can't do it on his own, but if Abbott can get any Texas court, I believe, to say that they have basically abandoned their job, then he is empowered to appoint anyone he wants to that position for the remainder of this session. And so the thing that the Democrats seem to forget is that every single Supreme Court justice in Texas is a Republican. And remember what I said at the beginning, we live under a constitutional republic, and so the Constitution is the law of the land, and the Texas Supreme Court decides what it says. So if the Texas Supreme Court decides that yes, they feel that these guys and gals have vacated their positions under the Constitution, they can remove them. So it would really be the Supreme Court of Texas removing them. It wouldn't actually be Abbott. And it's never been done before. That's why they say it's unprecedented. We don't know how they would rule, but I can say, these guys have done this a couple times in the past. They've done it twice before. In 2003 and in 2021, both times Democrats didn't like redistricting, so fled the state. Both times they failed to achieve their objectives. Basically what happened was the governor, Perry on the first one and Abbott on the second one, they just kept calling special sessions forever until the Democrats finally gave up and one of them came back, or enough of them came back to form a quorum, and then the legislation passed. So that's one of the powers of the governor. He can just keep calling special sessions, which is a massive burden for the people. Because they actually have jobs to do. They're really only expected to go and do this for a few months or whatever, and then they go back to their real jobs. They're usually high-powered attorneys or corporate CEOs, things like that, and they get leave to go be part of this, and but they have actual lives. And it's the same thing with the guys and gals that are in Chicago right now. It all sounds great, but the Texas governors in the past, I think if I remember right, Perry and Abbott both sent Texas Rangers to go kind of bring them back, and they couldn't technically bring them back because they weren't, in Texas, so they were out of jurisdiction. But he threatened them with arrests and fines. I don't know if they ever did pay any fines, but yeah. So all this does is delay, I believe, and I might be wrong this time, but I believe he will either remove them from office, or Abbott will get them removed from office, or Abbott will just keep calling special sessions until he gets this thing passed. Now, I guess if Trump's his buddy now, I don't know if he could get Trump to send the federal marshals in there to do it. Now they'll all yell that Trump's a fascist and all that, but if he could find some legal pretext to do it, hey, they're using a very hinky legal maneuver here, to leave the state. Why can't Trump? And they already say Trump's a fascist, so you know what? If you're going to be a fascist, let's embrace it. But again, I don't like fascist because that just means you're a moron. But just embrace the suck. Come on, Trump, send the marshals, U.S. marshals after them, arrest them all. That would be greatness. Who was it? Wasn't there a show about that? Dog the Bounty Hunter? Can we get Dog to go do it? What was that? Lee Majors. Lee Majors was in the Fall Guy. Wasn't he a bounty hunter in the Fall Guy? Am I mixing things up? But anyway, I digress again. But that would be awesome if Trump sent the marshals after them. The Democrats would lose their minds. I'd have to get the popcorn bowl out if he did that. It would be so great, just for the entertainment value. I don't actually think it's probably right, but it would still be entertaining. All right, so yeah, so see, when you've got the whole government apparatus in Texas run by Republicans, there's really not much options for the Democrats. Just ask Republicans in California. And then, yeah, like I said earlier, you know what, you guys, if you don't like Texas, stay in Illinois, stay in wherever you went, Boston, Florida, no, they wouldn't go to Florida, Boston, California, stay there. Don't come back if you don't like Texas. That's an option. You can do that. So that's one of the great things about America. You can go live wherever you want. Democrats have excoriated. Ooh, that's a good word. I like that. I haven't heard that in a while. The mid-decade redistricting plan, which was demanded by Donald Trump ahead of a potentially difficult midterm election for Republicans, as a political power grab that would unconstitutionally suppress votes for people of color. Yeah, Trump is actually doing pretty well, I think, with independents and Republicans. But you never know. Midterms, presidents tend to lose seats in the House more so than the Senate, but they can lose some in the Senate. And just full disclosure, I'm not voting for Cornyn. I want to primary Cornyn out. I don't like him. And I know that that's dangerous because if we manage to primary him out or we give him enough bad press, we might get Allred in. And to be fair, I think Allred would be worse from my perspective. Your perspective might differ, which is fair enough. But for me, I don't like Allred. But I don't like Cornyn either. And I don't like Cruz either, to be fair now. I want to get all of them gone. Yeah, Cruz. These guys all went to California and whatever. How is that different from Cancun Cruz? They all ran to Illinois and or to California or whatever. Why aren't we talking bad about him for doing that? We didn't like it when Cruz left, or when twice. Yeah, I'm mad at Cruz because during the ice storm he didn't come back fast enough, and during the floods he didn't come back fast enough. So I'm pretty much done with Cruz too. I don't. Unfortunately, Cruz won 2 years ago, so he's got 4 more years, I think. before we can get at him. But yeah, so I don't like either of the Republican senators now. So I might just have to sit this next election out. Full disclosure. And yeah, Allred might get in, but sometimes you've got to burn it down to fix it. I know. But locked out of power in the legislature, Democrats have few tools at their disposal to fight the effort, even as they promise to delay the map's adoption and to use the extra time to educate Texans on what they framed as an attack on democracy. No, see, that's the thing. It's not an attack on democracy. You guys love to say that. Democracy, we don't live in a pure democracy. And so people who keep saying that, again, you guys are all retards. We live in a constitutional republic. We elect representatives to represent us. If we were in a true democracy, you'd all get the vote. Everyone would get the vote. We don't. You don't get a vote. It's the majority rule of our duly elected representatives. That's what it is. And you know what? If you want to make the rules, have more representatives. It's that easy. Go ask England. Go ask Canada. It's the same everywhere. It sucks being in a minority party, but you have to. Those are the hands that you've been dealt, and you just have to work with it. Scotland, it's awful in Scotland. There's not enough people in Scotland. Like last time I looked, there's somewhere on the order of like 6 million Scots, and I'm Scottish, by the way. For anyone who doesn't know by now, because I say it all the time, because I'm proud to be Scottish, but I am proud to be American too, and I think America's the greatest country in the world. America's the best place to live. It's far better than Scotland to live. Just ask all the millions of illegal aliens Biden let in. Everyone wants to get here, and I don't blame them. But anyway, I digress again. Scotland always gets voted out because there's more people living in England. And I don't remember how many there are because they keep importing more. I saw there's like 700, 800,000 more people in England and Wales than there were last year. So again, that's votes. That translates to votes. There's somewhere on the order of 65, 70 million people in England. And I could be wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. But because it's something like 65 million to 6 million, Scotland always gets the shaft. It's just how it is. And so that's, I don't like the British system of government. I like ours better. The Senate and the electoral college actually somewhat fix those problems. So people who are against it, you would basically be taking representation away from small states. And hey, I live in Texas, so it might not be so bad, but if you live in Rhode Island, trust me, you really want a senator, and you really should want that electoral college vote. Otherwise, nobody would care what Rhode Island wants. So Texas. Preventing a quorum was the nuclear option. Coming just before the map was set to reach the House floor, Republicans advanced the redistricting plan of the House to committee on Saturday morning and later scheduled it for a floor vote Monday. Democrats could skip town long enough to run out the clock on the special session, which began July 21 and can last up to 30 days. But Adam can continue calling lawmakers back for subsequent sessions. That's right. He can keep calling them. So that's why this is a fool's errand. Eventually, some of them will give up. The financial pressure will be too much. These people have lives. You can't stay in Illinois forever. You just can't. I don't know who's funding it, but and if anyone's funding it, definitely the Abbott will have the Department of Justice look into in Texas whether that's legal. So, my prediction is this might go on for about a month at most, and then they'll give up, and Abbott will just keep calling special sessions, or he will get them fired by the court, and then appoint his own people, and then they'll just rubber stamp it. It'll be done. And I don't think that's the right way to do it. But you know what? If they're going to run, and they drew first blood, so I have no problem with doing it. All right. So Texas House rules adopted by Republicans in 2023 after Democrats decamped in 21 to block new voting restrictions impose a threat of arrest of $500 a day. So yeah, they're going to get hit with a $500 a day fine starting Monday. So how big are those fines? Are they willing to let those fines go? And how are they going to pay for them? Abbott's going to make sure it's whatever they do is going to be legal in how they pay for those. And so yeah, it's a problem for them. Now, I don't know if he will actually collect those fines, but the threat is there. House rules also prohibit lawmakers from using their campaign funds to pay the fines. Right. So making the decampment a potentially expensive moves. Yeah. So they're going to have to personally pay $500 a day. I'm sure they can't get it from donors. But Democrats have been raising money in recent weeks in anticipation of the quorum break, and those involved in the fundraising say they found a way to circumvent campaign restrictions. Now, they say they found a way, but it's going to be up to the courts to decide. And guess what? Again, Republicans control the courts. So I would say, Democrats, your legal strategy on this better be solid if you want to try to get away with it in the courts. At Sunday's news conference, Wu acknowledged the financial and personal strain legislatures would face by staying in Illinois for a prolonged period. He noted that as a part-time lawmakers, they earn $600 a month. Yeah. Wow. So it's less than I thought. I thought these guys were making, a few thousand, they were making maybe like $20,000 or something. But they only make $600 a month. Yeah. So I actually thought they made more than that. So it's $600 a month. That's, $7,200 if I do my math right. And, I thought they were making like 20,000. So yeah, so they only make $600 a month. Nobody goes and becomes a Texas legislator for the money, the direct money. It's for the power, influence, and connections and other things. And well, just because they really just want to do it, because they want to do the right thing for the state of Texas. It's got to be those kind of things. We don't pay them enough. And then who knows? I don't know. Maybe they have ways like Nancy Pelosi of getting rich off insider trading and things like that. And that really wasn't fair. Republicans do it just as much as Nancy. Nancy's just the best at it. But anyway, we're all away from our families that we've already been away from for 6 months. Oh, okay, so the session goes for 6 months. I'd forgotten. So maybe they only get paid $3,600 a year. So 6 months at $600, and then on top of that, well, special sessions they will get paid for the special sessions, but they get paid so little, it's definitely not a strain on Texas's pocketbook. I'm all for keeping them in session all year till they get this thing passed, if that's the will of the majority. We're all away from our families. We've already been away for 6 months, he said, referring to the 140-day legislative session that ended in early June. We've been away from our jobs. We've not earned a lot of income this year. This is not a decision we take lightly. Yeah, that's right. You basically have to be wealthy, or be in a job that's willing to give you leave for like 6 months and pay you. And if you're in a law firm, and a lot of them are in law firms or own their own companies and stuff, then you can get away with that kind of stuff. So honestly, regular people could not do this because you got to feed your families. But this is definitely something they didn't plan for. So it's going to put a strain on some of them. Among those fundraising to support Democrats is Powered by People, a political group launched by former U.S. Rep. Beto O'Rourke. Oh, I hate Beto. In 2019, he's also a moron. The group raised over $600,000 in 2021, the last time Democrats deprived the House of a quorum, to help cover costs associated with staying out of state. And O'Rourke's spokesperson confirmed the group is again supporting this year's effort. National Democrats have offered their support, with U.S. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries visiting Austin last week to strategize with state Democrats and vowing to stand with them in trying to block the new map. Democratic National Committee Chair Ken Martin said in a statement that the party would fight alongside Texas Democrats as well as take aim at Republican-held seats in 26. 100% agree. If I was Hakeem, I would be fighting tooth and nail to help Texas Democrats with whatever I could, because he's, if what they're saying comes to pass, it's in its final form, Democrats could lose 5 seats in the House, and that would definitely hurt Jeffries. I'm assuming he's the next speaker, which I don't see why he wouldn't be. Other than, Democrat numbers are awful and they're not getting anything done. So is he the most effective leader? I don't know. Pritzker's involvement began at a dinner in late June hosted by Oklahoma Democrats, where he discussed the possibility of helping Texas Democrats fight back. All right, so they're going to fight back. Okay, Paxton wrote on social media Sunday, Democrats will try to run away like cowards should be found, arrested, and brought back to the Capitol immediately. Yeah, last time they did this, it went to the Supreme Court in Texas, and the Supreme Court in Texas did rule that the House could could force members to come back legally. So the House could ask the governor to send the Texas Rangers to go get them if they chose to. The Texas, the governor doesn't really have any authority over the House directly, but he could be asked, and I'm sure they would. I'm sure he would get the nod. But again, it gets problematic because of lack of jurisdiction. If the other states won't cooperate, then basically the Texas Rangers would be governed by the same rules as bounty hunters, I would guess. And tell me if I'm wrong. And then in the comments, and then the House, local law enforcement would not help them and might actually try to stop them. Other Republicans called for House Speaker Dustin Bowers' removal to take aggressive against members not present with the chamber gavel. Yeah, I wish after this nonsense they would just pass a law to make it, or let's get a constitutional amendment if we need to. We need to do this legally, but let's pass a new law that says, something like if you're not there for, I don't know, pick a number of days. If you're not there for 2 days, 3 days, whatever it is, 5 days of a session, that the Speaker of the House can remove you. I'd be completely fine with that. And boom, done. If we could get that law passed and then it falls to the governor to appoint a replacement, this nonsense would stop. And if you don't like it, change the law. And so again, so I don't like this. I'm hoping we can change the law. I see no benefit in them fleeing the state so that they don't do their job. It's stupid. I know it's legal technically. Breaking quorum you can break quorum. It's technically legal, but it's actually not legal because the Supreme Court has said they can compel them to come back. And so it's actually not legal for them to do this. And again, that's why they can have fines and all that. And so they're breaking a law, or at least a House rule. If you want to quibble about it, Democrats like to quibble about whether this is a civil action or a criminal action and all that kind of nonsense. But at the very least, they're breaking a House rule where the Supreme Court has ruled that they can be compelled to be brought back. And so the compelling would be sending the Texas Rangers to bring them back. So Rep Patterson of Frisco posted on X that he doubted all Democrats participating in the break had actually left the state. So some of them are probably still here. And we should send the House Sergeant at Arms or state law enforcement after anyone who wasn't on the floor on Monday. So they're likely to do that. They're going to go looking for them on Monday, and they'll find them. It'll be pretty quick to tell where they all are, I'm pretty sure. He also suggested that Abbott, who controls the agenda for the special session, allow lawmakers to redraw the lines, state house districts to penalize absent Democrats. Yeah, so that's the other nuclear option that we haven't even talked about before. Hey, you know what? Since you fled the state, we're going to redraw your district just because we can. I'm all for it. Again, they drew first blood. If you behave badly and leave the state, Republicans, go ahead, behave badly. I used to be more like we just got to play by the rules and do all this kind of stuff. And then Democrats, went out on purpose and trumped up charges and stitched up Trump and tried to throw him in jail and stop him from being on the ballot over nonsense. He's a convicted felon for making 34 bookkeeping errors, basically. So they have no high horse, and their president pardoned his son after he said he wouldn't. You guys, Democrats, you don't have the high ground here. Let me tell you. Rep. Leach from Plano added that any participating Democrats who serve in House committee vice chairs should be stripped of their positions. Yeah, why not? On social media, the speaker said if the House lacked a quorum Monday, all options would be on the table. He did not elaborate on what those options might be, and his spokesperson did not respond to requests or comment. The spokesperson for Abbott did not respond. We're going to do everything we can to protect every single one of them, Pritzker said. Trump's political operatives had pressured state leaders to redraw Republicans up to 5 new seats in Texas to help buffer the GOP's slim majority in the House against potential losses in the midterm next year, expected to favor Democrats. The first draft of the map was unveiled Wednesday, targeting Democratic members around Austin, Dallas, Houston, and South Texas. While federal law permits redistricting for partisan gain, the Voting Rights Act prohibits diluting voters and people of color. Democrats have argued that the proposed maps unconstitutionally packed voters of color into some districts while spreading them throughout others to reduce their ability for their preferred candidates. I believe that's a losing argument. The problem you're going to have here is the Supreme Court has already weakened the Voting Rights Act and said that, it's been long enough after the U.S. Civil War. It's been, 150 odd years. So the Voting Rights Act, getting like federal oversight to make sure races are protected in voting rights, that needed to go away. So the Voting Rights Act is still there, but it's much weaker than it used to be. So I think that's a losing argument. I don't think they win that. But hey, you should try. Democrats, try. If you can win it, great. If it, do whatever is legal. I'm fine playing by the rules. Do whatever is legal, but I think that's a loser. U.S. Rep. Mark Vesey of Fort Worth, whose seat would be partially dismantled under the new laws, noted at a committee hearing Friday that his district was drawn by a federal court to ensure that communities of color, black and brown Texans, could finally have a voice in Congress. Now, so that one he might actually win. I could see that if you can really prove there's a racial element to it. But see, here's the thing. I don't actually think there's a racial element. I think they're drawing it so they get more Republicans, but it's not necessarily racial. People like to make everything racial. I'd need to see the data to be sure it really was racial, because just because they say it is doesn't mean it racially disenfranchises people. Now that voice is again under threat. This is a map that was drawn behind closed doors, and we're here to say to dismantle representation or weakening our power in turn. All right, so in closing, I would say gerrymandering itself, I don't like it. I wish we didn't have it, but we do. I don't like that the Democrats have just fled the state. You just need to work within the process, and if you don't like it, win more elections. That's how it is. You should not be stopping government. I want you to vote on getting more money for those poor families in the Hill Country. I don't live in the Hill Country. I live like 3 hours away. Those people are suffering. Anything we can do to help them, we should be doing. So you're just not doing your job, Democrats. Get in there, do the hard work, do your job, stop the virtue signaling. And yes, Abbott, use every tool in the deck. If you can remove them, remove them. If you can arrest them, arrest them. If you can put your own people in and rubber stamp this thing that the majority wants, do it. They drew first blood. All right, that's what I thought. If you liked it, give me a like, give me a subscribe. Watch me some more. If you didn't like it, fair enough. Don't watch me. I tried, like I've told some people, I try to live in the real world, not the one that I want to be, because we're all in the same dream together, and there's no point in the virtue signaling. If you don't like it, change the process, but do it through the proper political and legal path. And I just don't think they're doing the proper thing right now by fleeing the state. All right, guys. Thanks. Bye.